What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the episode of the Coffee Q&A. I'm Jay, your host. How's it going? Today, we're going to be talking about some coffee that I thought might be kind of interesting, especially considering today's events. This is the Coffee Q&A. If you're joining us for the very first time, we do this live stream about coffee most Monday through Fridays, 10 a.m. Eastern. So good to see all of you. Coffee Cove. Kent, how are you both? Happy International Coffee Day to you as well. My goodness. So we have International Coffee Day, and we have a whole government shutdown here in the United States. It's very exciting times, very exciting times. And so I thought that well, let's rewind before we get to that. So back in July, Daily Coffee News on their Instagram feed posted this coffee and I was like, oh, that seems like it might be kind of interesting. And it was something that a farm in Puerto Rico, a place called Panorama Farm, had made a blend of coffees for Congress, for the House of Representatives. And I was like, interesting. So this company is owned by a woman, Angelique Sina, and she is a social entrepreneur. She actually worked in D.C. So I think she worked in D.C., made quite a bit of money, a lot of connections while working in D.C. She's originally from Puerto Rico, then went back to Puerto Rico. I think in 2021, she bought Panorama Farm in, Santa Maria? Is that right? Santa Maria? Las Marias in Puerto Rico. And they've been working on making, I guess, quality coffee and a lot of social programs to improve the lives of people in Puerto Rico. So it seems like an interesting thing. And so I'm totally hypothesizing on, right? But I presume that from her years working in D.C., making connections with congressional members of Congress, they were able to make this coffee. And this is the Congressional Reserve Blend for the House of Representatives. And it is a coffee that was announced and had a debut back in July 15th. And I was like, oh, that seems kind of interesting. Let me see if I can get a bag of it. So I called my guy down on the hill, and he's like, we haven't even seen this thing yet. Like, it doesn't exist. It's not that it doesn't exist. It just hadn't been released yet. So finally, about a week ago, he's like, hey, he gave me a call. I said, I got it. He's like, all right. And then he said, I see him on a fairly regular basis. I was like, I'm just kidding. He's like, I'll just send it to you. So he sent it up to me. And here it is. So it's Arabica coffee from the mountains of Puerto Rico, from Las Montañas de Puerto Rico. And it is a ground coffee because, it's ground because, members of Congress are not competent enough to grind their own coffee, right? They just can't give them whole beans. Otherwise, it just gets all kinds of whacked. Good morning to you, Power Plant. Please remember to check the chat often. I know you're probably just sitting there like, will you please check the chat? You keep that. Nothing's happening. Just spinning. Kira says, I was working in D.C. when there was a shutdown and everything was sequestered. Not a fun time, even though it didn't last long. Oh, then that was a long time ago, because the last time the United States government had a shutdown was in 2018. And actually, it turns out we haven't had a shutdown of the government since the current guy in the White House was in the White House before. And during that previous time, there were 3 shutdowns. Now, remember, shutdowns happen once a year, and a presidential term is only 4 years. So if you've had 3 shutdowns in your one term of office, anyway, but the last one in 2018 was the longest ever in the past 50 years, or in the history of the United States. 35 days of just nothing. And so I was wondering, like, what in the world's going on here? Why do we have this issue this time? Because you know what? Republicans who want to do whatever they want to do, they want to, they're trying to increase Aryan identity and white supremacy and deport people like myself, to lands, who knows where they're deporting them to, or just making them disappear outright. But they have the majority in Congress, right? And passing a bill is a simple majority, right? So if you want to pass a bill in either the House of Representatives or the Senate, you just need a simple majority. And I was wondering, why do we have this issue, right? Like, if I look here, this is the current Congress that we have at the moment. This is the Senate, 100 members of the Senate, and there's 100 members because there are two representatives, 2 senators from each state. then the House of Representatives is actually determined. The number of members is determined by the population of each state. So that will fluctuate. I don't remember exactly how that works, but as you can see here, we've got the majority of 53 Republicans versus 47 non-Republicans, and then we have the majority 219 Republicans versus the the minority of 213, and then there's 3 vacant seats. And of course, the Congress, the House leadership has blocked voting, or has blocked the swearing in of replacement congressmen because, well, if they allow this person that was elected by special election from the state where I think the actual representative had died, if they swear this woman in, then that will tip the majority, evidently, towards the Democrats, who then can push for a vote so that they could both release the files about Jeffrey Epstein and perhaps impeach the current sitting president. So they're trying desperately to avoid that. But right now, they have the majority of congressional votes on both sides. And I was like, why is it that these guys just can't pass it? Like, what's happening and what's the problem? So I called up my friend down on the Hill and I was like, dude, what is the deal with this? And he's like, well, it's more like you need to have 60 votes. Let's say in the Senate, you need to have 60 votes, because otherwise, without that 60, if they had 60 votes, it would push the bill through, no issues. But under 60 votes, I guess they can filibuster. The opposition can filibuster and delay proceedings, which still doesn't answer my question about why they just haven't passed the vote and then the opposition is filibustering. But I'm like, well, okay, so I get it, but yeah, I don't understand. Kiana says that was the one. They actually told us maybe 3 months, so a little over a month was really good for us as we were working. Oh, okay, without getting paid. Oh, we did get back paid. Oh, okay, oh, nice. Were you working in government back then? I only see you as like a tattoo artist, right? Like the tattoo master. That's all my whole, like the idea that you might have a real job is like, oh, it did not even occur to me, but I am curious. Coffee Cove says if someone has to drink their coffee if the government is going to shut it down, so it does not go. Of course, absolutely. That's why we're here, because this coffee, right? This coffee you can buy evidently now at the gift shop at the Longworth Building, House of Representatives, and you can go there and buy this coffee. It's $15. It's $15, $15 US, made in Puerto Rico. So Puerto Rican coffee, I was, to be honest with you, when I first heard about it, when I was first reading the Instagram post, I was like, Puerto Rican coffee? This is America. It should be Kona coffee, right? Coffee from Hawaii, from a state, not from a commonwealth. That's sure to rot up a whole island of people now. Now I can never go back and get mofongo. But but I was surprised. But it's nice to see that they have this. And so it says here at the very bottom, Cafe Ama Love, which is actually Panorama's kind of like their branding. Their branding is about love and Ama Love. Actually, I didn't even think about looking what Ama meant. Ama in Chinese culture, at least Fujian culture, is the word for your grandmother. So let's see what they say. So here they say, from Puerto Rico's highlands to the U.S. Capitol, the Arabica coffee is more than a drink. It's a symbol of resilience, unity, and the power of small actions to spark big change. Crafted by dedicated farmers and roasted at woman-owned Panorama Farm, every sip fuels progress, policymaking, and opportunity. Like democracy, great coffee demands commitment, collaboration, and vision. This blend supports scholarships for women and youth because bold change starts with bold actions, which I'm surprised that they haven't protested this coffee, because woman-owned, it's what? Supporting women, scholarships for women and youth, and for brown people. Like that's anathema to the current style of a lot of Congress today. Anyway, we're going to try this pre-ground coffee. Hopefully it still tastes good. Power Plant says, U.S. government is still boring to me, but I begrudgingly study it just to know more. Yeah, it's difficult. M0's with us. What's going on, man? How are you doing? Good to see you. Anton, how are you? Power Plant says, pre-ground trap. Well, it just happens. It happens. Watch the Forbes breaking news as they have explained why the shutdown, and you hear it right from Congress members. Oh, all right. I'm going to check that out. Get Yeah, I don't know why I mean, they have a box here marked for whole bean, but I don't think they buy whole bean. Like, my friend knows what I do for a living, so it's like he would have known to have bought a whole bean coffee, but I guess this is all they offer, because most people, they're not going to have a grinder. This is not geared towards the coffee enthusiasts. This is geared towards like the constituents and members of the House. They don't know what they're doing. They don't know. All right, let's get into it. Let's get to it. Better turn on the heat for the water. And let's have a look here. Here's the thing. So these bags have these pull tabs. And you know what? This is my OCD. I hate, I'll do it because I don't have another way of mastering it. But man, I'll pull on, and you know how it always cuts kind of strange? I'm so obsessive. I want to cut it, and I want it to be pretty. Or at least uniformly straight, right? That's what I want, straight. So there, I want to use scissors to cut things. We're very hyper obsessed with things like that. At the shops, we cut tape with scissors. I train everyone to cut their tape with scissors. I get on their case if they don't, because you know what? It looks pretty. It's prettier looking. All right, let's have a look inside here. We're going to open it up and zoom in a little bit more. Oh, that's very ground. That's very ground. There's actually a tropicality to the fragrance. Interesting. It is very ground, though. It's very, very ground. Okay. Turn on our grinder. Kerry says, I was working as a consultant in D.C. since 1990 until I got fed up in this president administration's first term. I got you. I had no idea. I just thought. I've only known of you as the tattoo master. So, okay, let's go to we're going to use our normal recipe, 24 grams for 12 ounces. Whoops. At 24.8 will be fine. Coffee Code says Forbes is on YouTube. All right, I will go look for it. Anton says hand grinders where I can see the. Yeah, very underground. It's very underground. Okay, so here it is. Now we're going to brew today with a pour over, because that's kind of like how people would brew in their homes. I imagine that this is, like I said, geared for the constituents of most of the House members, and God knows most of those people are using K-cups today. But if they do have a coffee brewer, they're probably going to have a Mr. Coffee, and that's really kind of what this is probably going to be made in. So we're going to use a pour over to kind of mimic that idea of Mr. Coffee. But we're going to have better ratios and better temperature than the Mr. Coffee. And we're going to get our fake Hario. Naomi's just here. What's going on? This is pre-ground coffee. This is pre-ground coffee from the United States Congress. This is the Congressional Reserve Blend that is being made in Puerto Rico. Well, from Puerto Rican coffees for the House of Representatives. You can buy this at the Longworth gift shop. If ever you're in DC, I'm going to buy it there. $15 for how many pounds is this? It's not even a pound. It's 8 ounces. These guys aren't even subsidizing, for us. It's like they just want us to drink our coffee by pulling ourselves up by our bootstraps. And those of you who are from not in the United States, that's a reference because like a lot of these Republicans are very much like, you know, screw the people, let them pull themselves up by their bootstraps. Don't give them any help. Don't give them any social programs. Don't give them anything. That's a reference to that. Okay, so let's put the. There we go. We're going to put that in here. Zero this out. Let's see if we have grind retention. Ooh, 24.7. Perfect. Just what we wanted. Exactly as we expected it to be. All right, so that's good. We're ready here. And you know, I haven't used the functionality of this scale in a very long time. So let's see. Brew assist. Okay, brew assist. There we go. 24 minutes. And then we're supposed to tear it now, right? We tear it. Okay, I'm not going to do anything yet because I'm waiting for the water to boil. M0 says, still haven't checked out that place in Falls Church, but I'll get around to it eventually. Oh, wait. Halfway through the week, everybody have a great day. You too, man. You too. Kerry says, I wrote 3 national government curriculum and was given the Provider of the Year award from the department. Oh, wow. That's amazing, man. Congratulations on that. Yeah, we're not so interested. I mean, this administration is not so interested in those kind of things. That's too woke, especially for DEI people like us who only get our positions because, you know, DEI. Kerry says, no one in Hawaii actually knew yet. Yeah, that explains why I have no idea. But it's funny. I guess it's funny because, you know, like, and I'm sure this is probably true for so many of you out there, but like, there are those people that know you from one aspect of who you are. They have no idea what else you're doing, right? Like, I think about it too. Like, this is how I look at it, right? Like, I have, you know, been on I have been on the drugs to you lose weight over the last 2 years. And like, if I look at the videos from 2 years ago that I shot 2 years ago, I'm like, oh my gosh. And I think about now, like people that I meet in this past year that have never met me before, they only know me as who I am at the moment. Like, they don't know me as this, you know, bigger guy. And I was like, oh, that's so bizarre. And when I think about that, I'm like, oh, that's so bizarre. But I think that applies in that, you know, people know you from different aspects of your life, you know, and it's like, oh, just a curious thing. Okay, we're almost there with our boiling of the water. Gonna get our kettle. We'll use the Kogu kettle today. No, you know what? We're gonna use a classic. We're gonna go to the classic. Let's go to the classic Hario Bono. This is the old school kind of kettle that started. Oh, look at this. It's been sitting around long enough that I think I don't know if you can see this on the camera, but there's actually a little bit of cobwebbing right here. All right, well, that's fine. It's fine. Power Plant says GLP inhibitors will be interesting long term. I know, you know, the problem, my concern is with this, and you know, it's been a very like interesting journey in that I am not one of those fitness people, so I'm not really like doing anything. Like, I just kind of do nothing, and it's worked. But there was a week where there was a period while I was in the hospital. They took me off of the drugs, and they were like, okay, just take you off for a little bit, and then you go back to it. So I went back to it eventually. But man, there was 1 week where I guess all the residual effects of the drugs had worn off. And the hunger was ravenous. Like, I was miserable because it was like every like hour and a half, I'd be like, oh my God, I'm so hungry. It was really, really terrible, really terrible. Okay, so now we're gonna go here. We tear this, right? No, maybe I wasn't supposed to tear that. Okay, that's terrible. Okay, let's put this. I'm gonna put this back in here. Put this in here. Okay, tear this. Ouch. And then we add the coffee. Okay, there we go, 359 grams. And now we're going to press this button, right, Naomi? Right? You're the one that's always like, press the button. Now we're pouring. Oh, you know what? It's so interesting to pour with this kettle right now because 85 grams. I haven't used this kettle in quite a long time. So the actual, and this is the kettle I used for like 10 years. The ergonomics and the way that this ship, I feel a little bit unfamiliar with it right now. Huh. Okay, so it's flowed through fairly quickly. 30 seconds, not bad. Now, you see how there's a bit of a divot? I don't know if you can kind of see that it's divoted in the center. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come around the edges just to push everything in and then just kind of fill it up and let it be level again. So our target is 359 grams of water, which is 359 milliliters. Karen says, for the last 14 years of my working in DC, I was working with Native Indigenous nonprofit organizations in writing applications for national grant programs through DHHS. Oh, nice. I'm presuming that all those have been canceled. I don't know, that's the cynical side of it. I have low expectations for the current administration. All right, one thing I noticed is that the crema, or the scum, the foam, looks fairly dark. It didn't smell like it was overly roasted, but look at it, it's very dark. Or maybe I should say it looks very rich. Power Plant says, I like using pulse brewing for most of my pour-overs. Seems to work well. Oh, you'll have to try that next time. We did the pulse brewing yesterday, or the last couple of days, with our what do you call that? Nail drip. So while the flow rate was really fast in the first 30 seconds, now, in the first 85, now I guess a lot of the fines have settled down through the matrix and are slowing up the flow through the filter because it's going a lot slower now. I do think this is too fine a course, too fine a grind for this coffee. 240 grams, 2 minutes, 40 seconds. We're not terribly behind, but I would like to see us be faster. I would like to see the flow rate be faster. I think we're probably going to run closer to 5 minutes with this brew. Yeah, definitely. See how I ended up raising the bed a little bit higher, and we're not even at the 300 grams, and we're already past 3 minutes. So we're definitely rolling kind of slow today. Anton says the bureaucracy is holding back. It is. It totally. They're filibustering my coffee flow. That's what they're doing. $316. We're getting closer. Kenna says, I did talk to some friends that still work there, and it seems that the Democrats in Congress is fighting to keep funding for the programs. But of now, it's an uphill battle, no pun intended. You know, and it always is a battle. I'm so, you know, there really is no surprise that this Republican Party is pushing to eliminate any kind of social programs. I mean, and that the hard part for me to fathom is 359. Let's go to 359. Not fathom, but the hard thing for me to really understand is that, you know, a lot of people that are supportive of this, you know, it's a lot of these things these are people that are going to push and try to enact legislation that's going to be detrimental to the people that voted for them, and that just kind of seems I mean, it's all about enriching themselves, right? It's always about enrichment. Like, we've got all these farmers that voted for this current administration, and now they're getting hammered with the tariff because of the tariffs, not hammered by the tariffs, but like, for example, here in the United States, a lot of soybean farmers, nobody's bought any soybeans. China has bought no soybeans this year because China's pissed off. They're like, screw you. Rightly so. And these people that voted for America First, that voted for, this pedophile child rapist who's passing as a president, has created programs that are going to bankrupt them because they have no revenue. So, and the crazy things that their farms, when they go bankrupt, their farms will be bought by the corporations that are owned by the super wealthy. And then in turn, they're going to buy the farms at low prices, maybe even turn around and hire the farmer to come back and work his own farm as an employee. But America first, right? So that's always a positive thing. All right, let's look here. We're going to get rid of our coffee. And let's see, look at this coffee. Look, it's all, you can see it all. It's too fine. That's way too fine. I don't know. Who knows what these people are thinking? You'd think that coffee people would know better. All right, we've got our coffee. It looks fairly dark. Like, I don't know if that's just because maybe it's sitting on a black scale, but it does look darker than I would have thought. Right? I mean, just as a let's pour a little bit, see what we're dealing with. Yeah, it looks darker than our normal stuff, right? Mom, good morning to you. Oh yeah, it does smell now a little bit more roasty. Coffee Cove says to cover benefits for the illegals. The illegals don't really receive benefits. You have to have a Social Security number in order to get them. Oh. But really, what I don't understand is like, I would never say that I'm truly a man of faith, right? Like I've never been a very hardcore Catholic, right? I don't go to church. Like it's not something that I do, but like, I think there's some basic fundamentals that, what, if I had a friend or someone that I admired and, people were like, yeah, man, he raped girls, underage girls. I think I might even if it was like someone that I didn't like was telling me that, I'd be like, I would have to rethink my position a little bit, consider my position more. There's a bit of pungency to the coffee, some tightness. I mean, it's maybe a slightly on the darker side of roasted. I mean, it's definitely, look at the color. Like the color is definitely darker than we normally have. Are you saying that it's not true that he's a child rapist? Because if he wasn't, and the Epstein files prove that, he would totally have released that stuff because he'd be like, oh, look, I'm totally not what people say that I am. Most people will be more than eager to prove their detractors wrong. In this case, they're very much hell-bent on hiding that. But it's a simple thing. Like, really, just release it. It's easy. So we have, there's definitely a pungency to it. Like, is it bad? No. Is it I'm trying to think. There's a flavor. This pungency reminds me of a particular type of, what do you call it? The pungency may be similar to durian, but I would not say it's a durian kind of flavor. But we're going to explore it more. Let's move on because we have some cake, right? Because you know what? Just like Marie Antoinette said, when people are suffering, let them eat cake. So we're going to, because we have a government shutdown and we've got the government coffee, we're going to have, well, it's not government cake. It's actually Castella cake that I picked up at the Japanese market the other day on Saturday when I was down there. So Castella cake, I've never had this one before, but this is a Castella cake, frozen baked confectionery, imported by JFC. So, you know, probably fairly commercial. Power plant will tell us if it's commercial or not. But, you know, Castella cake, kind of fun to eat. I always kind of like them, whether it's Castella from Japanese bakeries or from Korean bakeries, or I'm just going to use my scissors again because this is not what I want to have here. Very nice, very nice. Power plant says, yeah, the documented we are talking about are getting benefits. What benefits are you talking about that they will be getting? We talk about healthcare because most hospitals will not deny healthcare to anyone, whether they're illegal, whether they are, whether they're illegal or not. They're not going to. Hospitals do not turn away their patients. Okay, it's part of the Hippocratic Oath, right? So let's hear a little Castella cake. Just turn it out. And I think it's supposed to, like, it has to have twisted in somehow during shipment because it should probably look like that, right? Okay, now we've got our Castella cake. Looks all right there. Feels all right. Now the ends are a little bit ragged. I don't like that. We're going to get rid of the ends. Oh, that's right. There's a piece of paper up here. That was a terrible cut. Terrible cut. All right, there we go. So the crumb looks pretty good. I mean, it's a Castella cake. I don't really understand what Castella cakes are. I just see them and I eat them. I don't ask too many questions about them. They're kind of like fluffy deliciousness most of the time. But this one, you know, of course, is like more commercially produced, so it's brought here. I do kind of like the ones that I get at a Korean bakery better because they're freshly made. Not bad. Not bad. The ones I get from like Schiller and Tous les Jours, I think are better. Power Plant says Castella cake is not great. I've had the original ones from Nagasaki and never been excited. The good ones have crunchy pearl sugar. Oh, crunchy pearl sugar. This one has a. I'm not a connoisseur of Castella cake, but this one has. There's an unusual flavor to this one that I'm not used to. But I don't know what it is. There's actually unusual flavors to both. And actually, ooh, was that not a nice moment? There's a weird, there's a pungency, there's a strange character, strange flavor to this Castella cake that I don't recall from the Castella cakes I've had in other places. And then there's that pungency that's in the coffee. They don't meld. They don't have the synergy that we would like to have. Yeah, there's something about the two together that are just not. I guess like Congress, there's just not enough cooperation. Coffee Cove says also can get info on back videos on Forbes Breaking News, Winston Marshall YouTube, and Eat Up Times. All right. Jenna says, my wife has a green card and had legal status, but she was not able to open a bank account or any health insurance without providing her green card and SSN. Yeah, you can't do any banking in America. Like that changed. What was it? It changed. I remember like my bank was all over me at one point, like maybe like 10, 12 years ago. They were all over me. They were like, we need to update this and this. I'm like, I've had a bank account with you for 25 years. Who gives a damn about that? What do you care? The government's all like, I know my banker fairly well, but he was all like, we need to get all this. And I'm like, oh, God. But I tell you what, I've known a lot of people in the world. I've known a lot of illegals. I work in food service, so there's a lot of undocumented workers there. But I gotta tell you, you know what? I remember one year I was flying to California, and the airline, United, was taking the southern route that was over like Texas, New Mexico, Arizona. And I was sitting on the left side of the plane. And for some, I don't know why. I've done flights like this all the time. And I always look out the window. I was looking out the window. And I'm looking at what is the American frontera, the La Frontera, right? The border, the southern border of the United States, along those states, especially New Mexico and Arizona. I was looking at it. I was like, it's like the Gobi Desert out there, right? It's just all desert. And I was like, my God, man, if somebody's willing to walk across that to be here, how much more American how much more American do we need someone to be, someone that wants to be here? Right? And the reality is that most people do not necessarily move just for fun. Like they're not seeking to come to America because they think it's a cool place, right? Like you come to the United States as an undocumented person, and here in America, we're very much about spicks and wetbacks. We hate them, right? America hates these people. So you're going to a place where there's hostility towards you and hate towards you. And you know that as an immigrant, and you're going to come here because you're forced to come here. Like it's interesting, like because I'm very involved with cigars as an enthusiast. I've been to Esteli because I'll go to Matagalpa for work, and then I'll go to Esteli and hang out and meet people. And the interesting thing is that Esteli was a place in Nicaragua where there was not a lot of exodus because there was economic opportunity in their communities. So whereas a lot of other places in Nicaragua, especially like more in the southern part of Nicaragua, where there wasn't so much economic opportunity, they had to go places like to the United States. Where in Esteli, as the cigar industry grew through the 90s and 2000s and to today, the locals were able to get jobs and have upward mobility. When we have plans and programs like that, or if they have opportunities like that in their home country, no one wants to leave. Do you want to leave your family behind? Not really. So I think we need to think, as Americans, we need to think more, I think, about that. Because one thing that I've learned in my travels, and I've met people who could be deemed warlords, terrorists, by different organizations. And I met Muslims and all kinds of people. And while we tend in America to look for the differences and look for what's wrong with others, what I've found is that people are pretty much the same. They want a better future for their children. That's really the bottom line for everyone. It's like we want to have a secure and better future for our children. I think we need to look at those commonalities more than what somebody else is telling us is the differences between us. Right? At least that's my thought. Powerplant said, Baumkuchen is a much better cake, in my opinion. The Japanese love Baumkuchen. Some Austrian guy brought it over just before World War I. One. He tried and failed several times to get it to sell to the Japanese, but his shops kept getting destroyed in war. And yeah, that's a problem when you have shops in like war during wartime. It's like I built my shop and then it got blown up. I built it again and then it got blown up again. Oh man. And Baumkuchen is I've had Baumkuchen in Germany. It's very nice. It's very nice. It's hard for me to get here. Now his company is the largest Baumkuchen shop in Japan. Juchim. Oh, wow. Okay, that's awesome. Baumkuchen is probably more popular in Japan than in Germany. Maybe I had it there. I have no idea. And it says, towards Christmas, so now, the supermarket starts selling cheap brands of Baumkuchen, but that's already pretty good. Traditional handmade is not so easy to get here. Oh. Yeah, they make it traditional here, rolling wooden base. Why am I having a hard time reading? They make it traditionally a rolling wooden base with fire cooking on one side, kind of like a rotisserie. Oh. Is that the one that's kind of like looks like a, no, it's not the one that looks kind of shaped like a panettone, right? That's not it. I can't recall. But I gotta say, I have been, one of my favorite time to go to Germany, though, is right at, I guess, technically after American Thanksgiving, when you guys have your Christmas markets. Man, that is such a magical time to be there. Like you go to so if you've never been to Germany and you want to go like at the end of November into like between the end of November and Christmas. Go then, because it's totally amazing. Any town you go to will have their Christmas market, and you can go there and get like roasted chestnuts and all kinds of sausages and food. And Glühwein. It's very, very. I don't know if they do the Glühwein where you are, Anton, but it's like I've spent most of my time in Germany in the Rhine. I guess that's what it's called, the Hessen area. And I have been up north to like Berlin and to Wolfsburg, not Wolfsburg, is it? Wolfsburg, I think. Anyway, I've been there and then around. And then I remember I was driving from Berlin to Wolfsburg. I'm like driving, and I see these little tiny like camping trailers on the side of the road. And I was like, what is going on here? Like, there's so many of them lined up, and they all have red lights on them. I was like, so I had to ask my friend later, what's with the trailers and the red lights? He's like, oh, that's where you can go to get services. I was like, oh, services. Very nice. Very nice. It's too far for me to drive back. Anton says Christmas markets are actually a big factor in how oh, really? So what is the connection between Christmas markets and you getting into coffee? Powerplant says Baum means tree and Baumkuchen means like a piece of tree with the concentric. Oh, there you go, Peter. So Anton said, my parents brought back especially Canefera from one. Wow, they put that seems like a strange thing to get in the middle of like December. Like Germany is a cold country, probably snowing at some point, and like you're in this Christmas market and your mom and dad comes home. I brought a Canefera coffee tree from the tropics that I bought at the Christmas market. I don't know, it just seems like a strange, funny thing to buy at a Christmas market. At least, to me, I don't know. But that's awesome. That's awesome. Peter says, I love to do a Christmas market. You should go, man. You should totally get one of your science gigs in Europe or in Germany during that time. I've not been to I don't think I've been to other countries in that time period or have seen Christmas markets in other parts of Europe. But I got to say, I do love it. Like one of the really nice ones that I enjoy going to is the one in Heidelberg. Like if you go to Heidelberg, it's huge Christmas market. And like they have all of this, like, it's just huge. And then, no, not Heidelberg, Nuremberg. Heidelberg's much smaller. Nuremberg, they have the Nürnberger sausage, which is kind of like American breakfast sausage. It's just missing like marjoram or something. I don't know what it's missing, but it's like the small sausage. And they put like 2 or 3 in a crusty little tiny roll about that big. And you eat that. and you get your glühwein or you get some beer and you walk around and some marron, some chestnuts, and you're eating that, and then you eat another one. I don't know. I like that. I love those. My favorite sausages are the Baronwurst, the ones with the little mustard seeds inside, the country sausage, and then the Nürnbergers. I love those. I love those too. They're very nice. Very nice. Oh, back in 2018. Wow, 2018. I was in Frankfurt in 2018. That's when they opened. Actually, I was at the Frankfurt Christmas market in 2018, and because that's when they opened the La Casa del Habano. It was new in 2018 in Frankfurt, and so I kind of stopped in and had a cigar, had a nice time. Really beautiful. Gosh, 2018. Hard to believe it's so long ago. It was a slow start, AeroPress, electric cheap grinder. I only really went much more deep in 2023. Oh, but I think that's how it is. You kind of like start something. There's a little bit of interest. It's kindling. It's burning slowly, and then suddenly, it's like I must learn all about the power of the universe. That's kind of. I think that's a typical flow. Peter says Christmas here is in the summer. No white Christmas. I hear you. I mean, all those years living in Hawaii, it was always kind of warm. And then, when I go to the Philippines for Christmas, it's very warm there. Which actually, even though I grew up here in the United States, it doesn't freak me out to be in like warmer weather during Christmas. Keone says, I like the holidays here. Total commercialism in the big cities with no religious implications, no stores or restaurants closed, and just another day in the cut. Oh, nice. That's a nice thing. That's a nice thing. They don't close for Christmas? No. Philippines, I think they close for Christmas. I haven't really been. I've only been in the United States and the Philippines for Christmas. I've never been anywhere else. I don't think yet. I've been away during like American Thanksgiving, which was kind of always kind of interesting. And actually, the one that I always thought was interesting when I'm in the Middle East, their weekend is Friday, Saturday, and then they work on Sunday. So I always thought that was kind of interesting. It's like, we're working on a Sunday. All right, very good, very good. Power Plant says Philippines is Christian, so that means for sure. Yeah, very, very Catholic, very, very Catholic. And it comes from the 400 years of Spanish domination and enslavement, right? So, yeah, there it is. Yeah, always want dominion. All right. What else is there to say? So the coffee, the Congress coffee. I mean, not bad. I mean, it's got a weird. It does have this weird pungency that I wonder though if I took. Even though we're at our typical brew ratio, I think that probably it was since it was very finely ground compared to what we normally use, I wonder if we just over extracted. So let's add a little bit of bypass to it. Let's tone it down slightly. I should ask you guys, what are there any, as we move forward with more streams and videos, are there other topics that you would like for us to explore? If there are, let me know in the comments and we can put that for future agendas. Harpan says Southeast Asia is pretty much not Christian with the exception of South Korea. Oh, East Asia. Yes. And is Korea mostly Christian? Or is it? Are there the only Koreans that I've known were Christian? Why is that? How did that happen? Judah says turkey is not really popular here. They say it smells funny, so no. I don't know. That's just I never. Smells funny. That's good. Peter says, "Why am I getting advertised?" Oh, I don't know. It's YouTube. Sorry. Oh, largely Christian with a little Buddhism. Oh, okay. Huh. yeah, how did Christianity get to South Korea? Like the Philippines, like I said, the Spanish, they had, ruled the Philippines for 400 years and brought the religion. What they did not bring to the Philippines that they brought to the rest of their colonies was the language. I never really looked into it, but I was just surprised. Like, and my hypothesizing is that they had been in other parts of the world before the Philippines, and so maybe they decided that when they got to the Philippines, they didn't want Filipinos to have that language ability. That's why Philippines we're not a Spanish speaking country like other colonies of Spain. But more and more people are non-religious. Huh. Dating sites advert? Oh, really? Is that what they're giving you? I don't know if that says something about me or about you. But either way, good hunting. No judgment here. Keone says Taiwan is interesting. The indigenous tribes there are Christian, but everyone is a mix of Taoism and Buddhism. Oh, I wonder, could with Taiwan, I know nothing about Taiwan, so you don't even like take nothing what I have to say with any level of authority. But I wonder if Taiwan, like ethnically, I think ethnic Taiwanese are very similar to Filipinos, Malaysians, and other people of that region, whereas there was a large migration of ethnic Chinese from the mainland to, which I think why there's this mix of populations there. I wonder if maybe that Spanish Christian influence might have been part of the indigenous tribes. I don't know. Power plant says very similar to Vietnam. When after the war, missionaries swept in and converted. So you mean that South Korea became Christian after after the Korean War? Is that with? I mean, I don't really know much about the history of South Korea. Well, I guess, or Korea, the Korean Peninsula, other than that they were attacked by the Japanese at one point, and then World War II came and terrible things happened, and then there was the Korean War that ended up dividing the peninsula. But who was it? Americans that brought Christianity to South Korea? Peter says someone said Filipino and Asian. Nice. The indigenous tribes in Taiwan, yeah, exactly. They look like Filipinos, and that's what I was. And I always thought Taiwanese were. I had always thought Taiwan was just Chinese, right? I was like, eh. And then when I learned more about it, I was like, oh, there's actually like an indigenous people here. I had no idea. Because most of the people that I know that are from Taiwan are ethnically Chinese. So it never had occurred to me. So yes, wow. I looked at like the Christian, the Catholic thing in the Philippines from the perspective that, it's been there for 400 years. Like it started a long time ago. I mean, the Korean War was like, 70 years ago. Right? It's a very short time. So the proliferation of Christianity in South Korea has been very fast. Like that's quite remarkable. Kenny says the indigenous Taiwan tribes are Austronesian, and there is a small island that is between Taiwan and the Philippines and are Taiwanese but ethnically Filipino. Oh, wow. See, that's fascinating to me. That's fascinating. There's 56 ethnic groups, says Peter. In China, southern China have Thai people. Oh. Well, that makes that. I mean, China makes sense. I mean, because it's just so massive. Like, what, don't they have like pretty much all the biomes in China, right? Because it's just such a massive country. Like they grow coffee in China too. So it's like, oh. And the southern part of Taiwan is very close to the Philippines. Yeah, agree. Actually, I was really surprised when I was in Taipei. I was going to Manila after, and I was like, "How long is the flight?" They're like, "Hour." What? And that's hour to Manila, not hour to the northern tip of the country. I was like, "Oh." I certainly can appreciate short flights. Powerplant says, I don't think you realize how dire the country was in after the war. They needed a lifeline, and missionaries. Oh, yeah, no, I don't know. I don't know anything about. I really don't know much about South Korean history. But that makes sense. So they're in dire, like things are looking bleak, and Christ is the answer. I get it. Peter says Turkic and Russian to the north and Koreans to the east. Yeah, that's the interesting thing. When I was in Moscow, we went to a sushi restaurant. And there was this girl I was talking to, and man, she looked ethnically Japanese. I would ethnically Japanese, no doubt about it. And I was like, "Are you right?" I said, "Are you Japanese?" She's like, "No, I'm Russian." I was like, "Huh? You're Russian?" I don't understand. But yeah, for sure. Like if she was probably from, I think she was from Siberia or out that part of the country. So the eastern side of the country. So I was like, oh. And it was interesting. Like I'd heard when I was in Russia that everyone's Russian and everyone speaks the same. I was told this, and I don't know if this is true, but I was told that Russians speak the same dialect regardless of where they're from physically in the country. Which seemed odd to me because, we're so used to like different dialects and different ways of speaking from the different regions of everybody's country. But they were like, oh yeah, everybody speaks the same Russian. Like, huh? With the same accents? Okay. Karen says the Upik of Alaska, just want to make sure I didn't miss a letter there, look very Asian. Oh, yes. Well, and that's we were supposed to be a land bridge, right, between up there a long time ago, and people made the migration down. I mean, I think if we look at most natives in North America, they look kind of Asian. Actually, most people are Asian of some sort. They mean Caucasian, right? Asia is there from, and that's one thing. I was talking with somebody not a while back, maybe back in the winter, and I was like, man, there's no Europe. What do you mean there's no Europe? And, you guys probably get upset with it, but I was like, is there really Europe? Because it's all one landmass. No. Is there really a continental divide there? It's all one big landmass. There's East Asia and West Asia. What you call Europe. You guys are everyone's going to get mad today. I was getting mad. Oh, that was just a thought. I was like, huh, is that for real? Powerplant says, people should learn more about Korean history. It is literally pain. It makes things a lot more sense when it comes to East-Asian relations. I mean, I know that that Koreans had suffered quite a bit under Japanese rule. That's why there's always been a very strong animosity between the two. But hopefully people can move past that, and leave. It's not always just about moving past things, but it's also about leaving things behind, right? Like those who are subjugated, also need to leave things behind, but the ones that were the subjugators also need to give up those antiquated ideals, right? It has to be, I think it has to be, hand in hand with that. All right, now I've eaten half of this Castella cake, and I should stop, because otherwise we'll just sit here and eat the whole thing. Kiana says, the legendary sumo wrestler Taiho was born in a Japanese-controlled area of Russia that was given back to Russia and was half Russian. Oh, wow. Yeah, like the Sakhalin Islands, right, are all I mean, they're basically Japanese, right? It's all ethnically the same. All right. Well, there it is, the Congressional Reserve Blend, and some chatty discussion about modern day politics. Always a rousing day. Powerplant says, never, if you actually learned about how they were treated, moving on would not be so easily. I hear you on that. And one of the things that I thought was most interesting about my travels was one year I was in Rwanda, in Kigali, right? And my friend Eric is Rwandan. And when I first arrived in Kigali, this was back in 2008. I really didn't know. I mean, I knew there was a genocide there. I didn't know much about it, but I knew there was. And I ended up downloading and watching the movie Hotel Rwanda, which is really kind of like, I'd never seen it before. And I sat on the balcony of my hotel that first night that I was in Kigali. I was watching watching the movie. And while I'm sure the movie doesn't do the events justice, I was still like, wow, this is crazy. And I'm like in the middle of where it all happened. So I'm there for a week and we're doing, teaching coffee and all this, and everything's going fine and everything's really enjoyable. And Eric's been a great host, and I have avoided the whole genocide topic the entire time but I'm hyper curious. Right? I'm so interested to learn. So finally, towards the end of my stay, we started talking about it, and I really did want to ask what side he was on. I presumed that he was on the Tutsi side, which was the ones that were being attacked by the Hutus, and we were talking about it. I said, he's like, now that it's over, we are committed to being one people, to being Rwandans moving forward and moving past the genocide. And I said to him, well, how difficult is that? And he said to me, his answer was, well, imagine what it must be like for you to live next door in peace and harmony with the man who killed your mother. And I was like, holy shit, that's just fucking nuts. I was like, I didn't say that to him. I was like, but I was just like, oh my God, that is just, how do you do that, right? Could we do that? And he said, but our commitment is to be one people and to move forward. And so while I hear you, Pablo, on what you're saying and the pain that comes from years and generations of being under the thumb of someone, and certainly here in the United States, we see a lot of that residual feelings. I think what Eric said to me was that was so poignant to me. It was like, we have to make that commitment to move forward, to be one people. And it's not going to be easy. It's not about forgetting what has happened, but it's about remaining committed to what you want for the future. And I was like, oh, I mean, I don't know. He didn't really say all that, but I mean, that's my interpretation of all of that. Like I said, in meeting people around the world, my thought has always been like, people want really just a better future for their children. That's really it. And that goes back to that, like, do you want your children to grow up in a world of hate and genocide? Or do you want them to grow up in a world where, there's peace and hopefully a loving environment for them to live in? I think most people want the latter rather than the former. And even those who are driven by fear and hate in today's America, they're very, the ones that I would perceive, or that many people would perceive as racist and white supremacists and all of those things, and who align themselves with those who are that. Those people too, what do they want? they also want a bright, secure future for their children, right? Some of them may believe that future has to be a white future, but it doesn't necessarily have to be that. But what they want is safety and security. Unfortunately, some of them are led astray in their beliefs that it has to be a white society in order for that to happen. And there's many reasons why people think that way. But the basic thing that I try to maintain or bear in mind is that people are people. Why should it be? People want the same things. I think if we focus more on that, I think we would find better commonality. Prabhupada says the Japanese still do not admit to the extent that they treated. I mean, I do think that it's important for people to admit their wrongs, right? That's one way to move forward. I don't know. I can't speak to why they may not do that or have a hard time. I don't know. Keone asked, didn't the Japanese government give a formal apology to Korea? No, they never have admitted to what they did. Actually, they did several times. Oh, they did several times. I just looked at, okay. No, they can't see the apologies were actually not apologies. They would not have had to do it several times if they did it right the first time. And I maybe what it's kind of like though, and maybe what we're seeing illustrated here is kind of what we see in like our own personal lives. Like if you have someone that you know personally that did you wrong, or you felt offended by what they did, and they're kind of like, well, if you feel offended, I will apologize, or I apologize for you feeling bad about what I said. I think the apology is only effective if it can be accepted and felt by the aggrieved party. And perhaps the Japanese have not done enough or been atoned enough for what they did. And I mean, they were pretty vicious. I mean, across Asia, in China, in the Philippines, even. My relationship with that is a little bit odd because, to be honest with you, I would not be here had it not been for a very kind Japanese medical officer in World War II. My father evidently was very, very ill as an infant in World War II. Yeah, he was an infant during World War II, and it was a Japanese doctor, for whatever reason, that attended to him and gave him medicine to make him better. Otherwise, he may have died, and I would never have been here. We would never have this live stream. So, and just like any group of people, there's always going to be those who are good and those who are bad. Just like America today, there's good and bad people in any populace, no matter how we're perceived as a whole. So, but conversely, there was a lot of bad done. Like I remember one of my really good friends, his grandmother used to live with them when we were younger, like in high school. And I remember we brought our friend Anna with us one time to the house. And Anna is ethnically Chinese. She's pure Chinese. Like her family immigrated from Hong Kong many, many years ago. And man, when she arrived in the house, Lola, man, she was so pissed off. Like she cursed her up and down to her face. She was so angry. Like, I don't know what happened to her during the war, but it was bad. She thought she was Japanese. So definitely there was a lot of pain inflicted by Imperial Japan during the wars. Look into Gunkanjima. That alone was so messed up. It was a forced coal labor mine. It was used in Skyfall and as a World Heritage Site. Skyfall, that's the little, is that island? Is that island where, is Skyfall the one where, yeah, Skyfall is the one where they shot the French Asian girl, the French Chinese girl. What was her name? Sabine. All the labor were from Korea and used like the beasts of burdens. Yeah. Yeah, I hear you. I do hear you. I do hear you. All right, well, kind of apropos of this subject for government shutdowns and the House of Congress coffee. A lot of pain comes from Congress. Hopefully they can bring some relief to the people. All right, well, that's going to be it for today. We're back again tomorrow with more of the coffee Q&A, with more talk about coffee. So hope you have a wonderful evening or day or night, wherever you happen to be in the world. I appreciate you being here, and see you next time.